Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Invitation to a Conversation. I hope everyone is doing well on this Saturday morning. My guest today is DeWayne Hendrix. DeWayne Hendrix is a filmmaker, he's an author, he's an opponent of, let me get this together here. He's an opponent of mass incarceration. He's an independent researcher, and he's an advocate for the wrongly accused. So he has very interesting knowledge to me. So stay tuned and let's get some education. Good morning, Mr. Hendrix. How you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad you came on today. You have some very interesting knowledge that you live by, live in, and go by. And so we're going to tune in to some of that today. Can you tell everyone who you are and where you're a native of?
Um, Born and raised in Brunswick, Georgia, Brunswick Memorial Hospital, 912 all day, every day. Um, and what I tell people is that more than anything else, it's hard for me to just say, one of those accomplishments because I'm proud of all the work that I've done. More than anything else, I say I'm a student of life, and I am one that is traveled and learned to become one with all things. So, um, right, and as soon as somebody wants to turn this ringer off, my apologies. Yeah, but and you just turned your phone off.
Yeah.
I was going through here. I was going through here actually so that I could share the live stream on my pages because it's gonna be a lot of people mad at me if they find out I did an interview and I didn't notify them ahead of time. But I've been traveling for work. So at my 9 to 5, what I'll say is I'm real proud of what I do on a day-to-day basis because I work with the youth. I work at Job Corps. So I am constantly giving back to the younger generation and doing everything I possibly can to elevate their consciousness, the way that they think, the way that they approach life and everyday situations. And pretty much that's what I've been doing through my writings, my teachings, and even through my activism.
And so when you were coming up, going through high school, are any of the things you're doing now something that you were interested in doing then? Are these your career goals that you once had?
Well, I never thought I would be an author. That was never something that I thought I would do, but I've always I mean my hero growing up was I don't like to call him with the X, I like to call him Malcolm Little. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't respect the Nation of Islam at all in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Um, I'm very against a lot of the things that they've done because they have done a lot to dismantle our community and only have been beneficial to the propaganda of the Nation of Islam. So I have no respect for them. I have no respect for Farrakhan. I have no respect for Elijah Muhammad. I have no respect for the foundation of it. So I don't
So
like Malcolm X.
so let me ask you this, because when people mention Malcolm X, the next thing that goes next to his name is Muslim. So how can you separate the two when his knowledge of us, we only knew his who he was prior to being incarcerated and then coming out as a Muslim? So how can you
Right.
separate the two?
Well, it's easy. When you know what really happened to him and why he was assassinated. He was assassinated because as long as he was in the Nation of Islam, he could be controlled. So I implore everybody to watch shows like The Godfather of Harlem because it shows something that's um, very important for people to know and understand. At that time, maybe the most influential black gangster in America was Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, and him and Malcolm X had a very good relationship with one another. And truth be told, if the people who were wanting to do harm to Malcolm, if Malcolm wasn't a righteous man, he could have easily had them dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
But he felt responsible because he brought so many people into the Nation of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it also showed that Elijah Muhammad was telling him that, he didn't need to take a stance on issues that was affecting our community, and his job was to spread the message of Islam, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what people are very unaware of is that, for one, when you get to the origins of these so-called religions, the three monotheistic religions, they all are rooted in many things that people are unaware of. So when we get into the religion of Islam, we get into the understanding that, for one, the word um, Muslim or Musalam actually is rooted in the land of Mu, which was an ancient land that existed on the planet, just like Atlantis was an ancient land, just like Lemuria was an ancient land. And the world was once one landmass, and scientists and archaeologists they call it Pangea, or the supercontinent. So you have underwater civilizations off the coast of Asia that have pyramids that are just as big as the ones in Egypt. You have a glass pyramid that was found um, in the Bermuda Triangle, glass crystal pyramid that's just as big as the ones in Egypt. You understand? There are underwater temples in Central and South America. So when the continents divided, these civilizations were lost because they sunk into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, to give you an example, and this is something that I put in my book Supreme Science, Volume 1, Does the Matrix Really Exist? They found
Right.
they found a 200 million-year-old piece of Africa underneath Alabama. And where the continents divided is right here where we from. It's something off the coast called the Brunswick Magnetic Anomaly.
All right.
So
Yeah,
this
we're gonna get into that. We're gonna eventually get into that in our questioning. Mm-hmm.
right. So this goes into understanding the land of Mu, though. And remember, I told you, like, a lot of these things that I explain, it's not going to be a cut and dry answer. So often we look at black and white and we never see the gray areas. And that's how the people that are in power have always been able to deceive the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So now going into the religion of Islam and how it spread, these are the same bloodlines that took all of our ancient knowledge and they reversed it and they created religion with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, to give you an example, the word Yahweh is a Hebrew word,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it means the Lord in some connotations, but it in essence it means good and evil. So if you look in Genesis 3:22 in the Bible, and I'm using this in context because it becomes very important to understand the number 322 is the number that the skull and bones use. But
Mm-hmm.
322 in the Bible, Genesis 3:22, is when the judgment is passed on Eve. And it says that man has become like one of us to know good and evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's Yahweh that's speaking. But Yahweh came from Ah, Ray in ancient Egypt.
Okay.
So Ah was the moon and Ray was the sun,
Mm.
right? So the sun was always considered to be good, and the moon was considered to be evil. So this is where terminologies like the freaks come out at night come from,
Mm.
or monstars. A monstar is a moon star, right?
Mm.
But when you see the religious iconography that is used in the Nation of Islam and most Muslim countries on their flags, you see a crescent moon and you see a star.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, the sun is a star,
Okay.
right? So when you see the sun and the moon, that's the same essence that everything coincides with, because even the name Eve, evening, the moon,
Right. Right.
right? So the Ah moon in ancient Egypt is the reason why all of, or not all, but most of the women that are in both the Bible and the Quran have names that end in the Ah sound,
Mm.
Lila. So
Okay.
the metaphor of Delilah and Samson is the sun and the moon.
Mm. Okay.
The locks of hair is the rays of the sun.
Okay.
Okay. Khadijah, Fatima, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, Keturah. All of these names that end in the ah sound are metaphors for the moon.
Okay.
You understand? So when you see even the Hebrew name for Eve is Hawa. It's not Eve when you transliterate it to Hebrew.
Okay.
So and this is a large part of why there's so many misconceptions and misunderstanding, is because by the time the Bible was changed and it went through all of the changes that it went through, we're dealing with what's called the King's English.
Right.
At that time, what it was just like how the MAGA hat is today. It was being used as a political tool. So the version of the Bible that we got, the King James version, was specifically designed for the nobility and the aristocrats in England.
Okay.
And when you go back through time, it was a man named John Wycliffe that was killed because he wrote a Bible called the Vernacular Bible. How we speak to each other and we talk in what we call broken English, or we say slang, right? If I say what's up, I'm not asking you what's above us. I'm saying
Right.
what's up, ma'am? How you doing? How you feeling? Right? So
Mm-hmm.
that would be what's considered vernacular. So John
Mm-hmm.
Wycliffe wrote a Bible in that connotation, so it would be something that would be designed for the commoners, and they killed it.
Okay.
You understand?
Because
Because
they didn't want his literature to be out to give opposition to what they were trying to teach.
correct,
Okay.
because it was
Mm-hmm.
all a part. See, it was all a part of the Catholic Church's domination,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is why Martin Luther becomes such a important historical figure, because of the Protestant Reformation, right?
Okay.
So the Protestants basically was protesting the Catholic Church's rule, because the
Okay.
Catholic Church was basically trying to use religion as a tool to dominate the world.
Right. Okay. Let's get back to our questioning.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. In 2012, you said you founded the United States of America, a
United,
community based organization. Can you
United
explain why you found it, why there was a need for it, and what's his mission and goal?
It's United Streets of America.
Yeah, What did I say?
States.
Okay, the United Streets of America,
Right.
community-based organization. Why
Right.
did you find a need for it, and what is his mission and goal?
Well, at the time I was in Atlanta and I was doing a lot of gang interventions. It started out with, at the time I was in the streets, I was coming out of the streets. I came out of the streets and stopped hustling around 2008. My daughter was born in August of 2007. And that completely and totally changed me. I waited until I was 32 years old um, to have a child. I didn't get started like a lot of my peers early. I waited, and for whatever reasons, I'm glad I waited. So I ended up having my first child in 2007, and when I had my daughter, I knew I couldn't like jeopardize being taken away from her. So um, I got out of the streets, and with becoming a dad and learning all of the things that I was learning about fatherhood, it changed how I view manhood. And then from that point on, I started to realize so many different things from a spiritual standpoint once I started reconnecting into my studies. So once that happened, um, and I changed so much about myself, of course, you want to help your people that you know is
Right.
disenfranchised, that you know is lost somewhat.
Hmm.
So um in 20 I want to say in 2010 I started teaching. And when I started teaching, I kept getting brought into different scenarios where it's a 15-year-old kid that shot at another kid. And it's like all of these different things that single mothers was bringing me into. And
Hmm.
because of my street ties, I knew so many people that was connected to gangs. So from that point, what I started to see a sense of is that it was so many young men that was joining these gangs, and they was joining these gangs for the wrong reasons.
Hmm.
So because I saw a lack of guidance and a lack of just father figures or male, role models, I started taking a lot of these young men under my wings and started helping them. And from there, one thing led to another. I met this person who is this dude is a gangster disciple from Chicago that moved to Atlanta. This dude is a Crip that's from Compton, and I kept meeting these people. And my co-founder is a brother named Brian Berkeley, but he's one of the most respected Crips out of Compton. And initially, when I started talking to him about it, and he and I were talking about what was going on with a lot of the younger men that was in the federal prison system, because he was in the prison system at the time. And what ended up happening is we formulated the idea, and we started not only from what I was doing on the outside, but it started also as a reading program for young men that was on the inside, that was incarcerated still, that was getting ready to make their transition back into society. So it was a way to empower those who needed the necessary information, the necessary knowledge, because it's easy to tell somebody I changed my life. You could
Right.
change your life, but
Right.
it's almost like we have to have a step by step means to be able to walk the walk. and not talk the talk. You
So
know,
your mission and goal was to give them some another aspect of looking at life and getting out of the streets and turning
right,
their life around.
right, and then also giving guidance, to younger men. And a lot of times, what the world doesn't understand is that a young kid that just jumped off the porch, and he probably has been poor his whole life, and he got involved with the game, and he just made $400,
Mm-hmm.
15, 16 years old, and he just made $400 last night.
He think
And
that's a lot of money.
right, and he's used to his mama struggling, the lights being turned off, not having enough food in the house, and all of the different things that comes with being impoverished in this country. Now that gives him a sense of self-worth and self-accomplishment, that mama, you ain't gotta struggle no more.
Right.
I'm finna help. I'm finna step up. I'm finna be the man of the house. So it's almost like a bastardized or perverted call to duty, so to speak.
Hmm.
You understand?
Okay.
So
Yes.
that's the cycle that many of our young people get caught up in.
Mm. Yes. And most of the time, and not just that, they're just right there and they're looking for family. They're looking for a male figure, somebody to help them along. And it's always does not come out right.
Correct.
Exactly. And the next thing was something that's close to me is you exposed the corruption behind the Atlanta child murders.
Yes.
Um, I
Really.
remember I remember that real well because I was in the military, and a military friend of mine, his nephew got killed in the Atlanta child murders. The little boy's last name, he was a Terrell. His
Early
last name
Terrell.
was Terrell. Hmm.
Early
So
Terrell.
explain how what was your handling and of exposing the Atlanta child murders, and where are they at with that now? Because I know they come out periodically and do a update.
Well, nah, they don't come out periodically and do updates. What's been going on is that when there's a situation that takes place on the world stage, right? Because the world is a stage, and the people that you see involved are just players playing parts.
Mm-hmm.
And most of what we see in society is scripted, from news events, from sporting um, events. I mean, I could just go down the line. Wars, they've all been scripted, right? And with the Atlanta child murders, what many people don't understand is that it was a multi-level operation, and it had black ops, government mercenaries connected to it. Not only that, the Ku Klux Klan had involvement in what was taking place. And then also, one of the big things that's being always constantly brushed under the rug is organized pedophilia
Mm-hmm.
is connected to it. And what I'll tell people is that many of the people that you grew up respecting, honoring, looking up to, um, they gross and they disgusting is the
Mm-hmm.
best way to say it. And the saddest thing about what I've learned about the Atlanta child murders and exposing everything is that it was so many people that look like us that was involved in it. You
Mm.
know?
So for those that don't know about it, can you just give the listeners a brief update of the child murders?
Okay, so I'll give a synopsis on what kind of happened, and then I'll give
Mm-hmm.
an update on like some of the
Yes.
things that have happened. Okay, so a brief synopsis on what took place, and I'm using this in context as well because it was a lot of adults that were dying at that time. And then also, what I would tell people is that there were more murders after Wayne Williams was incarcerated, but they just stopped reporting it.
Mm-hmm.
But from 1979 to 1981, what became known as the Atlanta child murders, or the Atlanta missing and murdered, there were numerous uh, children and some adults. I think it was 6 adults and 23 children that disappeared in the metro Atlanta area and were eventually found murdered. Um, the uh, the the numbers are off because, like I said, there were young girls that it wasn't what they considered to be qualifying to make the list, that were murdered. Um, there were other adults that were murdered. There were women that were grown women that was participating in prostitution that was murdered around the same time, and a lot of it was brushed under the rug, um, because it became a very politicized situation because of what I now know was connected to it. And what I would say to people is that the precursor to the Atlanta child murders was Jim Jones in Jonestown.
Mm.
Okay. Um, Jonestown was actually a medical facility before Jim Jones took those people there.
Mm.
Jim Jones was a CIA asset, so he was connected to the government. Okay. And Jim Jones he got basically um, stamped in the black community by the Nation of Islam. So
Mm.
I actually have pictures that is in Red Pill Alchemy. Um, if you want me to share the screen, I can. But I got a picture of Jim Jones with the Nation of Islam,
Mm.
and what ended up being the issue with Jonestown is that the people that they was doing the experiments on over there were too old.
So explain to the viewing audience about Jim Jones, because a lot of young folks or people our age or older may not know about Jim Jones.
Okay. Yeah, so Jim Jones is known to the world as like a cult leader, and he was supposedly a minister and a prophet for a church in California, and he developed this huge following, and he was basically supposed to be what people were fashioning as the Messiah or the return of Jesus in
Mhm.
some instances. And he basically took a group of like 1,000 black people to Guyana.
Mhm.
And like I said, that facility was a medical facility.
And how many days were? Do you know how many days they were on that facility before they drank that portion, and how it got to that point?
I don't know, but what I'll tell you is this: that's even a lie about the Kool-Aid and everything else. Many of them people was murdered. They had bullet holes in the back of their heads. They was shot in the back because they was running. It was people that was found in the woods, and the amount of people that they said was killed, the numbers is way different than what actually happened.
Okay, all right.
Without going too deep into it, but yeah,
So,
it
so did Wayne? So did they ever, Wayne Williams, did they ever finalize or find someone different? Because Wayne Williams, they were saying, had a disability himself, and he wasn't capable of killing one or two children that they said he did, but they tried to put all of the crime on him. Is that correct?
yeah. So what happened with Wayne was that Wayne was basically tricked to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and how I would tell most people is how Wayne got caught up in the middle of all of this is that he had the EMS license and he was connected to people who work EMS. And until this happened, I really didn't know this, but most people don't know this, but EMS is a private contract. Like I thought EMS workers worked for the city or they worked for hospitals or something like that, but they actually are separate contracts. So
Mm,
um what without going too in depth into it because I am under NDA because of everything that happened. Not only am I under an NDA, but everybody that's a part of my team that has been working to expose this, we all are under NDAs. But what I would say is that if somebody was trafficking drugs or trafficking children and they needed to get through traffic real fast, what would be the fastest way?
mm. The
So,
ambulance. Wow.
right. And
Stop.
yeah, and what we've even found out is that well, this was something that was already known, but one of the people that testified against Wayne Williams was a white supremacist, and he was the one that when he took the stand, he said that Wayne Williams said that the world would be better off if we all killed one black child and all that type of stuff that they said that Wayne said. He was actually the person that said that, and the person who owned the EMS company came out and let that be known. But they
Mm.
didn't plaster that all over the world,
Right.
right? So
Right.
now, with the understanding of the updates and all of that type of stuff, um, Keisha Lance's bottom feeder, that's what I like to call her, who was
Mm.
the mayor of Atlanta at the time,
Mm-hmm.
she so-called reopened the cases and got up there and grandstanded and cried on the podium and all that about how she lived in Atlanta and all this type of stuff. But in all actuality, they only reopened the cases to stop me and a few other people from being able to get all of the necessary police investigative files.
Do you think that the truth will ever come out and
Well,
get
I
to
know
the
the
bottom
truth is
of?
going. I know the truth is gonna come out because I'm gonna be the person myself and the people that are with me. We gonna be the ones to tell the whole truth about what really happened.
So are you saying that Wayne Williams worked within that system, but they had to keep him quiet from telling the truth or whatever, and so they put that on him?
No, what I'll tell you is that with um with a lot of what happens in these situations, it becomes okay. If you let this be known, we'll kill your family.
Mm, right.
You know.
Right. He was
So
just a innocent bystander with a job.
and more than anything else, with all of the police investigative files, there's never any mention of Wayne Williams as a suspect in any of the murders.
Mm,
Um, when he went to trial, there were what are called Brady violations, and what a Brady violation is that if um, I was your defense attorney and you was facing a capital murder case, right? The the Brady law states that every piece of information that has been collected on the said case has to be given to me as your defense attorney,
mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
this is why they have a motion of discovery in
Mm-hmm.
court cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the only way I'm going to be able to give you an adequate defense in a court of law is I need to know everything that has happened, everything that's been said, the nature of the crime, where it took place, everything, time, everything.
Right.
So there were suspects to show you how bad a railroading it was of Wayne Williams. One of the suspects was actually a client of the same woman, Mary Welcome, that was supposed to be Wayne's defense attorney at trial.
Mm.
And this is a suspect in at least 3 of the murders. Like
Wow.
they have the police had a interview from a man that turned himself in on a warrant because he was scared he was about to be murdered because he saw the lifeless body of a 10-year-old boy in the back of this man's car
Mm-hmm.
underneath the blanket. So when he saw what he saw, and that boy's name is Charles Stevens, when he saw the body of Charles Stevens in the back of this man's truck, he was doing a drug deal in the front seat. He looked back and the dude said, "Hey man, don't worry about that." He said, "I mean, I ain't see nothing." Got out the car, took his drugs. The next morning, the guy who had the body in the back called him and said, "Hey man, I need to talk to you about something. Where can I meet you?" And he immediately went and turned himself in because this dude was one of the most feared killers in the city of Atlanta.
Mm.
So this dude was a killer that was known for killing whoever, men, women, he didn't care. And he was
Mm.
a drug dealer. He was a robber and extortionist. So he was one of the most notorious people in the city at the time.
Mm.
And Wayne's so-called defense attorney during trial actually was representing him on another case. And they never gave the information to her at trial about the fact that he had this involvement in these cases.
Wow.
And that's just one of the suspects. That's just one.
So how many suspects do you think it is?
I mean, I know of at least I would say about 15 to 20 people that we know was involved in different scenarios that never was charged in any of it
Mm.
because they
Mm.
was all connected to this pedophile ring that was operating in Atlanta. And there was a bunch of profile people that were pedophiles,
Oh, wow.
successful businessmen, politicians, so on and so forth. So they was protecting his secret, and in protecting this secret, they allowed, basically 30 plus children to be murdered.
Mm.
I
Mm.
mean, it's sick. It's sick. And when you somebody like me, like I don't fear death.
Mm.
You gonna kill me. Okay, come kill me. Because I mean, if you think you just gonna come kill me and that's how it's gonna end, it ain't gonna end like that. And if I die, somebody going with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So more than anything else, I'm a live my life, and I'm always be able to hold my head as a man, and I'm not gonna live in shame, and I'm not gonna live haunted by something that I laid down on that was something worth fighting for.
Right.
So that takes us in the next part of it. That's why they open the cases, reopen the cases, and they've done everything that they've done. The documentary series that came out that Jay-Z and John Legend produced, I was supposed to be a producer on that docu-series. That's how
Mm.
I ended up moving back to Brunswick, to be honest with you. I was basically ran out of the city of Atlanta. So I
Wow.
left Atlanta in 2014 because my life was being threatened. I'll pick up my phone call and it'll be somebody on the other line saying, "It'll be a shame if something happened to you and that pretty little daughter of yours."
Mm.
So I moved from Atlanta to Fort Worth, Texas, and I got a job. At the time, I was still working IT. I was working at the CDC when I got involved, and they fired me from the CDC because the CDC has connections to the Atlanta child murders.
Right.
Okay, so I got fired from the CDC after working for the CDC for 6 years. I was probably the most knowledgeable person in the work center that I worked at. They fired me.
Mm.
So I was still looking for jobs in Atlanta while gathering all the information to produce the documentary. That's how I got involved and met Wayne Williams in 2012. I was supposed to be doing a documentary called Injustice in Georgia, What Really Happened with the Case of Wayne Williams.
Mm.
So and to let it be known, a guy named Cedric Myers, who was in prison with Wayne at Hancock State Prison, been my homeboy since the first grade at Alabama Elementary School, right?
Mm.
Was the person that introduced me to Wayne Williams. At the time, I was filming a completely and totally different documentary. I
Mm.
had just graduated film school. Remember, I told you I got out of the streets in '08. I went
Right.
back to school and got my film degree.
Mm.
And at the time, the whole deal was I was owning a recording studio in Atlanta, and I was actively pursuing a music career. So I
Mm.
had a record label and everything. So back to how it. So I went back to film school once I got out of the streets, got my degree in film, right? And one of the guys that had just come home, a real popular dude from Brunswick that everybody know, cat named James Roberts. Everybody knew him growing up as Booney. He had just come home, and when he come home, we bump into each other in the city playing basketball. So we get to chopping it up, talking, hanging out, rekindling because this is my big homeboy. He just did 20 years. He came home. So lo and behold, one day, me and him together, and the dude called. He put me on the phone with the dude. Was like, guess who I'm with? I'm with Wayne. So he put me on the phone. What's up, bro? What's going on with you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Couple conversations later, yeah, man, I'm working on this documentary. Whoop de woo wop de bam. Oh man, I'm in here with Wayne Williams. He wants somebody to do his documentary. That's
Mm.
how I got. That's like true story. Anybody who know the story that was around, like I don't fabricate. I don't use propaganda like a lot of people. This is really what happened.
So
So
Wayne Williams was up for the story to come out because he wanted the documentary. Right.
right.
Okay.
So the reason why I never got to do the documentary is because the contingency in the film operating agreement that I had with Wayne Williams is that his attorney was going to furnish me the necessary information,
Mm.
right, for the documentary. So it was almost like his attorney was supposed to be a consultant on the project,
Right.
right? His attorney took 2 months to return my phone calls and didn't help me in no way, shape, form, or fashion.
Wow.
And now me knowing what I know why, and that's something that later on will come out on
Mm-hmm.
why his attorney wouldn't help, right? But I'm not at liberty to say now why his attorney wouldn't help.
Okay.
What I will tell people is that when you see something again that happens on the world stage, it got a bunch of gatekeepers around it.
Mm. That word is being used a lot these days,
Right,
considering the what's happening on that world stage now
right,
with that rapper.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But but
Okay.
but see, check this out. This something that I was see. I've been crazy when I've been telling people this person is a gatekeeper in the
Right.
industry. This
Right.
person is the industry plant. They lying about this person background. So for
Right.
instance, now don't nobody like Drake no more. But when everybody was loving Drake, I was telling people that Drake was an industry plant, and they lied about how he was discovered and everything.
Right.
But they
Well,
had to lie because of his bloodline and who he
right.
was for real.
Right.
Because they put all of these people in place from different bloodlines.
Mm-hmm.
If you trace Eminem's bloodline, for instance, you'll find you trace the Mathers family back. His name is Marshall Mathers. You trace
Mm-hmm.
that family lineage back, you'll find a man named Samuel Legidi Mathers, and he is the person that started the something called the Order of the Golden Dawn. Right now, there was a white supremacist group that called themselves the Order of the Gold, or the Knights of the Golden Circle. And the Klan calls themselves the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. But the Knights of the Golden Circle were actually people in the 50s that was trying to bring back slavery.
Just a different title, same mission, different
right.
title.
But this is Eminem, right? This is family and
his lineage.
right, and people, he the white Tupac, he this, and people
Right.
don't, they just listen to the music and they get caught up in that, and they don't realize that. But the deal with his bloodline is that they was people that was real deep into what we would consider to be witchcraft or dark magic. You see what I'm saying? So
yes,
but that goes for Drake's lineage and a lot of other people that are in the music industry, like Lady Gaga. It's a bunch of them that's plants.
Right.
Jack Harlow was another one. And when you Taylor Swift is another one. So when you start researching these people and you start finding out who their parents is, who their grandparents is, and all that, you'll be like, wow. No wonder they made this person the biggest artist in the world. No wonder they put this person in charge of this record label. No wonder this person is doing this on American Idol or whatever TV show that we all watch. Is because they do these things to make sure they have a means of control. Right. So this is why Lauryn Hill was such a big problem. Anybody who made music that made us feel good, right, that was coming from a pure place, they don't want that.
Of course,
You see what I'm saying?
right. I mean, record labels are like that. You might want to do gospel. They're telling you that's not what sells. This is what sells: sex, nudity, drugs and alcohol. Yeah.
I done been in the meetings, and that's why that's the reason why I done been offered publishing deals, all kind of stuff, but I can rap about some stuff that's going on in the streets, but at the same time, I'm finna rap about this over here.
Right.
We don't
It's
want
selling your soul. It's selling your soul.
correct.
You said that in your bio, you're a thought leader and spiritual guide to many, and your work is transformative and elevating the community in the positive way. Can you explain a thought leader and the spiritual guide?
Well, what I do is I inspire people to think outside of what is given to them. Most of what we deal with in society is multiple choice. So I want the Jordans, right? So I'll give you an example. It's a pair of my Jordans, right? These they call them the Gucci's. I don't know what the real year is or whatever. I don't get into all of them. I got them on sale. But let's say I really want navy blue and orange.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? What Nike does is they might make it in navy blue and orange 2 years from now. And when they make it in navy blue and orange, they're going to make the hat and the shirt and everything to go with it the same year, that same color. So now when the next time roll around and they make these in this color, they're gonna make the black, red, and white shirt. I mean, black, red, and green shirt, black, red, and green hat, and you're gonna have to change your whole wardrobe. They're not gonna make it to where you already got a hat to go with it and everything else. You see what I'm saying? Because everything that we pretty much deal with in society has been multiple choice. And the only things that we have control of, truthfully, is our spirituality and our soul. So with being a thought leader, what that means is getting people to see past the illusions that's given to us, to see past those multiple choices that they gave us. Because if you don't do that, choice is just an illusion.
But but God gives us a choice.
Huh?
Choices are in the Bible. Life and death, you know, good or bad. The
Well,
choices.
that's only if that's only if what you that's only if that's what you choose to adapt as your spiritual point of reference,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, um, like for instance, for me, I go all the way back to the source.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So, um, I go back to before there was the conquest for religion, and I find out what the spirituality was and what certain things meant.
Okay.
You understand? So we say things like the writings on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we say things like that's etched in stone,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, when I go and I look at ancient Kemet or Tamaray, what some people would call Egypt today, the writing is on the wall and it's etched in stone.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So
Mm-hmm.
when I learn about those stories and those principles, then I understand where the biblical text, where the Quran, where the Torah originated. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a greater message. And then when I see the messages, it's this face that's there. You understand? It's not what has been politicized, and the images have not been distorted
Right.
to make me subconsciously hate myself.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. The Sistine Chapel,
Mm-hmm.
and this is for women. When you go look at the Sistine Chapel, when you look at Michelangelo's paintings, tell me who the woman is that's there.
Mm.
Right. Because there's a woman there in the Adam creation story.
Right.
Now, I could give a greater message and explain that if you look at that creation story of God and you see the woman, the women is actually two women behind God, right? It's really in the shape and the outline of the brain, right?
Mm.
And what I'll say to women also is that women predate men.
Mm.
Every human being on the planet comes from a woman
Mm-hmm.
that's known as mitochondrial Eve that was found in Ethiopia. So now, if this is the cradle of civilization, where
Mm-hmm.
should we be learning our spirituality? What should we be looking back to? And we wonder why everything is as backwards in our community is because we stopped giving reverence to the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So in ancient times, if I was your son, they would say DeWayne, the son of Pamela. They wouldn't even acknowledge my father. You
Mm.
understand? Because every man that comes to this planet, they coming through a woman.
Woman. Mm-hmm. Mm.
So um with a lot of what has happened to us psychologically and spiritually is that something's supposed to be this, but we was given this. They
Well,
flipped it on its head.
well, and they did it all the way back to roots. When Kuta Kinte came over here, of course, they stripped us of our natural language and heritage and culture and
Right,
told him, beat him until he said his name was what? Toby and
right.
not Kuta Kinte. And so they watered us down. Right, right. I
But even I
understand.
mean, okay, but even like with stories like Roots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's such somewhat a fictitious story. And the reason why they gave us those examples of story, they'll let you see. They'll let you see Roots. They'll let you see Amistad. They'll let you see 12 Years a Slave. They'll let you see all of these movies, Birth of a Nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, I was a dude that everybody was mad at when Birth of a Nation came out, and I was telling people that the Birth of a Nation was really a story that was a silent movie by a man named D.W. Griffith that was about the establishment of the Klan in Georgia.
Mm. So
Right,
the
right.
birth.
Birth of a Nation, it's in my book. It's in my first book, Supreme Science. Birth of a
Mm-hmm.
Nation. Birth of a Nation was a silent film in the early 1900s by a man named D.W. Griffith, and it was about the reformation of the Klan in Georgia.
Mm.
This is why the Atlanta child murder piece is something I couldn't walk away from when Jay-Z and John Legend did what they did, because John Legend was supposed to be a part of my team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The establishment of the Klan took place at Stone Mountain
Mm-hmm.
in Georgia. But
Mm-hmm.
the Klan was originally started in Tennessee. They was outlawed for a while, and they got reestablished in Georgia.
Mm.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation started with highway patrolmen from the state of Georgia that were Klansmen. They took a weekend training course, and that's how the GBI started. One of the bloodlines of the people who came after me in the Atlanta child murder thing, this woman took me to court twice to try to silence me so I couldn't talk about this stuff.
Mm.
We found out because she admitted to one of the family members that she was from the Roper family. A man named Samuel Roper was the second director of the GBI. When he retired from the GBI, guess what he did?
What?
He became the Grand Wizard of the Klan.
No.
Yes. So, see, like, people think that I'm like crazy or something like that until I break it all down, and then they can't refute what I'm saying. Right? So,
Right.
back to the whole deal with Roots, Alex Haley was a plant. And they want us to constantly see that slavery story because they don't want us to know the truth about slavery, in which 90% of the people that ended up on plantations in America as slaves were Black Indians that were the product of wars that took place when Europeans came here, specifically the British and the Spaniards, when they came here and they got one tribe to help eliminate another tribe. So
Mm-hmm.
now in our area, do you remember when they excavated the old Glen Middle and they found a
Yeah.
Indian burial
Yes.
ground?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Because one of the biggest battles that took place in the Yamasee War, what some people call the Gullah Geechee Wars or the Gullah Wars, was right here in Brunswick, Georgia.
Mm.
Brun, B-R-U-N, comes from the word brawn, which means brute strength. And wick is Wicca. So they enforce Wicca through brute strength. They put the people in this area under a spell because they got all of these people that are Indians thinking that they came here from Africa, but we was already here.
Oh yeah.
That's why
We.
huh?
Mm. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look it up, the Yamasee War, Yamasee, South Carolina. Another word for Yamasee was Yamacraw. Yamacraw Village in Savannah. So our empire expanded from South Carolina all the way down into Florida, where you see names like Osceola County, Florida. Have you ever heard of
Mm-hmm.
Osceola
Yeah. Oh,
County,
yeah.
Florida?
Been there. Mm-hmm.
Osceola was a Yamasee chief.
Mm.
So they enforced this whole slavery thing. Not to say that slavery didn't happen, it just didn't happen on the scale that they made us think. And they don't want us to know that we was already here because this is our land.
And it, well, I mean, I'm gonna do my own research, but there's more coming up. You had more black people that said they were part Indian than they did
Right.
say they were part African.
Right. One of my
And the
real
texture of their hair would be the giveaway. Yeah.
right. Well, even when you hear people say dreadlocks,
Mm-hmm.
the term dreadlock came from the Spaniards that came to these shores and said that the people's hair was locked and it was dreadful. Hence
Come
the,
on now. Really? Okay.
I ain't making it up.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the term dreadlocks. That's where the term dreadlocks come from,
I'm
right?
doing a lot of writing while you're talking, so I can do my own research afterwards. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure you got all the resources you need. And that, see, the thing about me that I tell people all the time is don't believe nothing I say. Who am I for you to take my word for it? Don't
Mm-hmm.
believe nothing. Assume that everything that I'm telling you is a lie. Then go research what I'm telling you and then come
Mm-hmm.
back to me and let's have the conversation. So when
Mm-hmm.
I say that I'm a thought leader and I'm a spiritual guide, see, I don't want to lead nobody.
And an independent researcher. So you
Right.
do your research before
Correct.
you convey it to the people to make sure that what you're saying is the right
See all
information.
that back there
Mm-hmm.
behind
Mm-hmm.
me, and it's about 7 feet in the air, I want to say. And guess what? That ain't even close to being all my books. I got
Mm-hmm.
books that's still in storage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even
And
got enough room for them in the place that I'm in now.
mm. And so part of our conversation here, you are a known author and you have written two children books called
Absolutely.
Ariel's Crown and Joel's Journey. Can
Joel's,
you Joel's Journey? Can you
yes.
explain the characters and what the content of the books are about?
In all actuality, the beauty of it is that AUTH, author, AUTH, authenticate, AUTH, authority, authorize. So I get to authorize the narrative for my children. So
Mm,
Ariel's crown, Ariel is my daughter's middle name. So it's a real story about what happened with me and my daughter when she was going to a cultural private school in Atlanta called Children of the Most High. And then we moved. And it's one of the things I really regret moving to the area of town I moved in because at the time I was working at the CDC and I was trying to get closer to work. I lived all the way in Fairburn and I wanted to not have this crazy commute that I was having every day. So we
mm,
we moved to the North Druid Hills area of town. Um, and if I would have known then what I know now, I would have never moved to that part of town. And immediately when we moved there, my daughter started being picked on and mocked and ridiculed because of her hair.
mm,
It's her natural hair. So what I did was empower my baby by teaching her about great women like Lauryn Hill and Sojourner Truth and Ida B. Wells and Queen Cleopatra and Queen Nzinga and Mae Jemison, Madam C.J. Walker, and all of
Yeah,
these different Nina Simone, all of these powerful women, and showed her the commonality of their hair.
their
And
crown. Our hair
correct,
is our crown.
correct. Our hair is what you would call nine ether.
Mm-hmm.
And nine ether is all the gases in the universe. So um understanding the science of our hair comes out of our follicle and it forms a number nine. Nine is the highest number in existence because when you get to nine, you start over. How
Mm.
long is a baby in the womb?
9 months
Um,
on
optimal room,
normal.
optimum room condition is 72 degrees. I'm sorry, room temperature is 72 degrees. 7 plus 2 is 9. The the diameter of the sun is 432,000 miles. 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 9. The spinal column in a man is 18 inches. 1 plus 8 is 9.
Mm.
Right? That's why the 9 ball on the pool table is yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because and they actually play a game in pool or billiards called 9 ball.
Mm-hmm.
9 is the supreme number. When you turn the eye sideways, you get the eye of Ra or the eye of providence, because that's the all-seeing eye. The pyramid is here, your nose, which gives you the breath of life, and your all-seeing eye is your pineal gland, or what you would call the third eye. Some people say it's the eye of discernment.
So what is the difference of the eye that you're talking about? Because they use the eye in the pyramid in the Illuminati.
Right. That's what I was explaining. See, they tried to bastardize and make everything that was a good thing evil.
Mm-hmm.
And they created their propaganda and made it good. So back to that with the imagery, right?
Mm-hmm.
They made God and they made God a white man, right?
Right. But we know better.
Okay, hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
They made God a white man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where is God?
Where is he? Everywhere.
Huh?
Where is he?
According
Every
according according to where is the home of God?
in heaven.
Okay, right? In
Mm-hmm.
heaven, right?
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's another trick because God cannot be in heaven and still be omnipotent, omnipresent everywhere all the time.
Well, that's the purpose of his Holy Spirit.
Now, hear me out. Hear me out. Listen to what I'm saying. We're not gonna go down the road of doctrine. We're gonna talk about practicality, and I'm gonna show you something in the illusion that they gave us with the imagery. So they say God is in heaven, and
Mm-hmm.
they made God white. What's the opposite of white?
Black,
What's the opposite of
heaven,
up?
down, hell. Mm-hmm.
So you down and you black, he up and he white.
Okay.
So in subconscious, in the subconscious, what happens is if you accepted that image and you accepted the paradigm that there's a heaven that's up somewhere, right? It's subconscious what they do. I'll give you another one. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is Mary?
Jesus' mother.
The mother of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is the Lamb of God.
Mm-hmm.
His fleece was white as
White
snow.
as snow. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like,
But who compares? But who compares that nursery rhyme with Jesus' mother and the lamb that we call?
right?
Who?
See, you may not do it consciously. That's the point. That's why I'm saying it's subconscious. Like, okay, when we see the subliminal messages that they put in cartoons,
Right.
well, they'll have a Disney cartoon and it'll be a man's private parts in the background somewhere.
Right.
Why are they doing that? It's because this eye sees everything. It's the conscious mind is not picking up on what this eye sees.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have what? Perfect memory, but you don't have total recall. Remember the
Mm.
movie Total Recall?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the super subconscious mind. You understand? So the super subconscious mind is what happens when you have a dream and you may see yourself in an African kingdom, or you may see yourself in Native American gear, or you may see yourself speaking another language.
Mm-hmm.
The subconscious mind is what's connected to everything that has happened in this lifetime. So some people could say, I remember the music that my mama was playing when I was in my mama's womb.
Mm.
Remember what my mama breast milk tastes like. Some people can remember these things in the conscious,
Mm.
because truthfully, we all supposed to,
Right.
right? But
Right.
we don't
Mm-hmm.
have the total recall, because how the brain works is our brain is processing about 47 to 49 functions at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we'll lay down and we wake up and we be like, dang, I got to pay the light bill today before they turn it off. Or you looking for something and you like, dang, I had the bottle. I just had it over here. You can't, you gonna turn the whole house upside down and can't find it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to sleep and you wake up and you say, I know where I put the Egyptian musk. I put it upstairs in the bathroom in the medicine cabinet. And then you go right
Mm-hmm.
through it. It's because the subconscious mind is still working while you're resting. When the conscious
Mm.
mind is taking a break. So
Mm.
those processes are still processing in the subconscious mind. You understand?
Okay.
So now this
Mm-hmm.
is why, have you ever heard the term a savant?
Savant.
Yes.
Not that I can remember.
Okay. So in autism, there's a spectrum in autism, and they call some people a savant, like Rain Man. Remember the movie Rain Man?
Right. Good
And
movie.
he could just recite numbers like this. Hey, Rain
Mm-hmm.
Man, what's 1,800 times 992? And he'd be like, oh, 182,000, right?
Right.
It's because a savant has a hyper focus that they can only focus on that one thing.
Mm.
Whereas people who have normal brain processes, we're processing all of these different things at one time.
At one time. Okay.
You see what I
So
mean?
it's how many? So autism. Okay. So it's multiple thinking components based on one thought process at
Right,
a time.
right. So they actually are like artists that are savants that could go and they could sit on a bench and they could look at a scene in nature and see doves flying, and they could be at a pier or something like that, and they could sit there for 15 minutes and then they could go home and draw everything that they just saw, because their brain is still hyper fixated on that one scene.
Mm.
That's their only focus.
Mm.
You see what I
Okay.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
with us and how our brain is working, they know how our brain is working. So
Right.
that's how they do the subliminal seduction that they do. Another thing, I was telling the last interview I did with Callie Cole, when you at home at night, right? It might be 11:30 at night and the TV on, and um whatever show is on, and they just talking at this tone like this. And then when it go to commercial break, hey, damn, baby, Chevrolet, you can buy a car, and it be loud as
Right.
hell,
Right.
because the commercial is designed to get everybody in the house to pay attention to this ad.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
the commercial commerce, the ad advertising dollars is what drives all of the television networks and the television
So
market.
they're more louder. They're more
Right,
louder than the average
right,
TV show because no matter where you are, they want you to hear it. They want you
correct,
to get clear.
correct.
Okay. So let's get back to or Ariel's crown. And
Okay,
what was the basis of that book to get her to understand how important her hair was?
yes, that was it. That it's a crown,
Okay.
and basically empowering her to see herself in the same light that the world sees Lauryn Hill or sees Nina Simone.
Right.
You know,
And
I
all of our
tell,
hair is of a different texture and of different right.
and
Mm-hmm.
I tell my daughters all the time that they just as important as Lauryn Hill is,
Oh
or
yeah.
or
Okay.
Cardi B or whoever. Like,
Right.
you
Right.
they not, no more special or important than you are. So,
Right.
um, and then Joel's journey, because that's what you asked me about.
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Joel is actually my baby brother that was killed in a car crash in 2011. His name was
Mm-hmm.
Joel Devon Grant. Him and my stepdad, or my father who raised me, they were killed in a car crash together in 2011. And my son, I named after my baby brother. So
Mm-hmm.
that book is dedicated to my baby brother and my son. And what I wrote that about is a little boy that wants to go on a fishing trip with his dad and his uncle, but um, there's a King Tut exhibit that his school is going to on a field trip, and
Mm-hmm.
his dad is telling him the importance of understanding why he should want to go see King Tut and learn more about King Tut. And what ends up happening is he has a past life experience and realizes that he's a reincarnation of King Tut. And he ends up going through ancient Egypt and learning about the Sphinx and the different temples and what they meant spiritually and everything else. And then he uh he has this empowerment of understanding that his family is a royal family, and
Mm-hmm.
that that book means a whole lot to me because you know I got to honor my baby brother. you know
I yeah, sorry to hear that. I remember when that happened.
yeah,
Hmm. I
yeah,
remember when that happened.
yeah. But
Yeah.
sometimes the worst things that happen could be the best thing that happened to you if you understand
Mm,
that.
mm,
you know Life
mm-hmm.
teaches us how strong and how powerful we really are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, DC Young Fly was just talking about that the other day. You know, he lost his girlfriend and he was talking about he spoke at Rich Homie Kwan's funeral and
Mm,
he was saying about the purpose. Don't be mad at God and don't question him because there's a purpose for
right,
everything.
right.
Mhm. And so let's go on to your other books that you have written. You've written two books, one called The Supreme Science, Volume 1, Does the Matrix Really Exist? Explain this, the Supreme Science and the Matrix. I've never seen the movie, so explain it to
Okay.
the Matrix. And is this
Um,
similar? Is and excuse me, is your book The Matrix has any similarities to the purpose of the movie The Matrix?
well, what I did, and that's kind of like um, Sophia Stewart, the lady who wrote The Matrix, and she actually wrote The Matrix and Terminator, and the movies The Matrix, The Terminator, and Fifth Element are all based on her scripts that she had written. And the whole concept of the Matrix was about man versus the machine, the
Mm-hmm.
past, present, and the future. But also, the Latin word for womb is matrix, and
WOUND.
WOUMB, womb. But since you haven't seen the
Movie.
right, so you wouldn't you wouldn't be able to understand some of the symbolism.
Yeah, I just heard recently that the Matrix and the Terminator had something to do with where we at in life. And I didn't see either one of those movies.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it kind of does have a lot to do with what's going on.
And so can you tell me a premises or the basis of the books, and what is it, how does it compare to life, and
Well, because
how
because
we're
most
living it?
people most people are living a false construct or a false reality. So what people think is the truth is only based on surface level illusions that are given to us. So going back to what I was explaining before. So if I told you that all of this stuff going on politically, like you asked me about earlier, was all orchestrated, and that Donald Trump, so a lot of people are proponents of Donald Trump, and I've even told people, on Facebook posts and stuff like that, that I like Donald Trump. But I like Donald Trump because it's one of the things that I think has forced a lot of brothers and sisters to wake the hell up and to start looking at things for what they really are. Um,
So you like him in the premises that uh he's, what I don't understand. I can't explain it. So why do you like him? Does does he tell us what is out there, or what is to be, or the underbelly? What does
Oh,
he tell?
so they all liars and they all puppets. They all whores. Like anybody who's involved in politics, they sold their soul a long time ago if they got to that level. If somebody is like a mayor of a major city, so the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of DC, the mayor of Baltimore, the mayor of New York, Houston, LA, any of those big cities like that, and even smaller cities, like if it's a city that has like a lot of people in it, they already been sold. They sold a long time ago, and they done already been bought out. Okay, so I don't respect none of them as from a human standpoint. Okay, what I'm saying is that the presence of Donald Trump is good for melanated people because it's forcing them to have to examine certain things that they have
Mm,
always turned a blind eye to, right?
mm.
And I don't care about politics. I voted one time in my adult life, and I voted because I basically promised my grandma I would vote. But politics is one of the 5 P's, and these are the 5 pillars of control in this society. The other ones are you got politics, polytheism, psychology, philosophy, and the prison system.
Mm.
So politics is the illusion that there's somebody who actually gives a damn about you and gonna do something when you put them in office, because don't no politician ever do what they said they was gonna do to get in office. If you know one, please name them. I'll wait. Because every president that I've ever seen and every governor in any level of politics, they ain't never did what they said they was gonna do when they got in. Philosophy is a way to get outside of universal law. So a person can impose their philosophy or thoughts on a said topic and make a person buy into something that's unrighteous.
Mm.
Psychology is just psyching the minds of people out, lying to them. Right? Polytheism is the belief or ideology of anything that's outside of the one supreme oneness of God, whatever a person calls God, right? And then the prison system. So they really build prisons for people like me who think differently, that are strong and can actually get people to think outside of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And every prison ain't a physical prison. Sometimes it's a financial prison
Mm.
that I ain't gonna let you make no money.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's all of these different mechanisms of control. So I don't coincide with the demon crat. That's why
Mm-hmm.
there are blue states, because the blue in ancient time was the night sky, and Ra publican, the sun. That's why the red states. So even
Mm.
what I was saying before is they use the sun and the moon in so many different instances that people don't even understand what's going on. But that goes into color psychology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Understanding color psychology. For instance, when your phone rings, right, it's gonna be a red and a green button,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? If you don't want to answer, you hit the red button, right? If you want to
Mm-hmm.
answer, you hit the green button. But that's also the science of Venus and Mars, because Venus is the green planet, Mars is the red planet. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Venus.
You see? So
Hypothetically.
it's
Yeah.
right, but this is that I'm what I'm deciphering and unfolding constantly is I'm deconstructing the matrix, because see, once somebody opens your eyes to the reality, and you'll start to see it in everything in life.
Mm.
Okay, with the color psychology, you see this is called the chakras, right? This is the chakra scales. So these are the colors that are in our bodies that are connected to um, nerve centers. So
Mm-hmm.
when you get goosebumps, that's your chakras going off, right? And most people see this like in a chiropractor's office and stuff like that, right? But see, the green is the heart, and Venus rules the heart,
Mm.
right? The red is the lowest vibration. The slowest moving color is red.
Hmm.
When a color is moving too slow for you to see it with the visible eye, they say that that's infrared.
Right.
Because when it's moving too fast for you to see it with the visible eye, they say it's ultraviolet or UV,
Mm.
right? And then now, why am I showing you this? If you look at every fast food place, these three colors combined make up the colors of that fast food place. The only exception that I found was Taco Bell.
Wow.
So every fast food sign got red, yellow, or orange, or it has brown in it, because brown is red and orange together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's color psychology, and what they trying to do is they trying to get you to slow down and come eat that food that ain't no good for you.
Right. 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 Right.
So it's being used against us in every facet of life.
Mm. And what is in your other book? What is the red pill?
So
App?
in the okay, so And if you see all of my content online, it actually is my hand holding a bunch of red pills. If you ever
Mm-hmm.
notice my content. So that's actually the covers for my books. And the red pill or the blue pill was a decision. Again, in the movie, it was the red and the blue pill. It
Okay.
was it was a decision that had to be made by Neo, who was the one in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And um, and you got to watch the movie now. You got to. You got to watch all the Matrix. So next time we have an interview, you're gonna be asking me questions
How
about it.
how many movies is it?
It's actually 4 of them now.
Okay. And
Yeah,
and in your next book that we're talking about, and is it pronounced alchemy?
alchemy.
Alchemy.
Right,
And in this second book, you said, can we beat the matrix? Can we
right.
beat the matrix?
Absolutely.
How can we beat the matrix?
Unification.
Mm.
Unification. But see, the issue is that they they try to keep my people away from people like me. They try to keep my people away from those that not only are what they would consider woke, but actually have the ability to help transform the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
That's what alchemy is. Mental alchemy is going from the state of the unlearned, or what's called the profane, right, to the knower.
Mm.
So even when you said the word Illuminati earlier, right?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Illuminati means light bearer. And in
Okay.
ancient times, there was an evil Illuminati, but there was the good Illuminati as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because the light is knowledge.
Right.
And the true light is the light of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's unfold the matrix a little bit more. When you look at the middle of the English language, this is why you have LMN in the middle of the language, because LMN is lumen, luminary, light.
Mm-hmm.
And the language has 26 letters in it because there's 26,000 years in the solar procession,
Mm.
or what's called the solar equinox or the great year,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
One day is like 1,000 years to the Lord, and 1,000
Right.
years is one day. The
Right.
26,000 year, that's what that was giving reference to, the 26,000 year solar procession. And what that is that's the sun going through all 12 zodiac ages,
Mm.
because we stay in a zodiac for 2,160 years. So now the significance of what we seeing on the world stage in 2020, when the revelation started, because revelations means things will be revealed, we will start to see.
Right.
We talk
Right.
about everything that's going on with P. Diddy and all, we starting to see everything that they've been showing us for a long time, been all based on lies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, December 21st, 2020, we went into the age of Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, we was in the age of I believe, which was Pisces.
Mm.
Aquarius is I know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the last days, people will run to and fro, and knowledge will be increased.
Mm-hmm.
Where should we be for the next Passover? Luke 22:10. Go into the town with the house with the man with the pitcher of water.
Mm.
Aquarius is the water bearer. The Passover is when we go from one age to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So now when we go back to ancient Egypt and people say, oh, they worship all them gods, they worship scorpions. No, that was the solar procession going through Scorpio. when you see the scorpion. When you see the ram,
Mm.
that's Aries.
Right.
When you see the lion, that's Leo. When you see the bull, that's Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? When you
Mm-hmm.
see the sacred virgin, that's Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so the whole understanding of now the language, we got to look at it different because English is Anglish.
Mm.
That's why they say Anglo-Saxons.
Saxon. Mm.
The real British person or the real Englishman is the Anglo-Saxon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let me say this because this gonna bring it home. When I say 2,160 years, 2 plus 1 plus 6 plus 0 is 9.
Mm.
You see? So that's the supreme mathematics that we got to understand because the first universal principle is math. You can't get outside of it.
Right. Right. And so you're currently working on a fifth book, which is part two of your first book, The Red Pill
Red pill alchemy.
Alchemy.
Volume
I'm trying to figure out how to keep pronouncing that word right. Alchemy. Hmm.
alchemy.
And it's called Can We Save the Babies? How can we save the babies?
Uh, we have to first um not kill their imagination,
Mm, that's right.
right? And then we have
Mm-hmm.
to empower them with the right knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Right knowledge. So I give you another example. Sing it with me. Do you remember?
Right. The times.
No, no, no. Not remember the times. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Do you remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sing it.
Yeah.
The what?
Yeah.
You don't remember the next line?
No.
The 21st night in
Oh
September.
yeah. Yes.
What's the
The
date?
21st of September.
You didn't even realize what you was doing when you said September 21st. For me, that's why I said that day perfect. Because today is the vernal equinox.
So today is the last day before the signs
Fall.
over
The
and they
fall.
go
We going
Libra.
into the
Right.
fall now,
Mm-hmm.
right? We going into
Mm-hmm.
Libra. So
Mm-hmm.
now when you see the cross, when you see this and you see that, understand that that's the scale, Libra,
Right.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
Libra, Aries, libraries, where you find the truth,
Mm.
the
Mm-hmm.
Libra Aryan, librarian. See, the Aryan is the noble one. Aries is I am. When you say I am, you saying birth.
Right.
The year starts in Aries.
Right.
That's why Aries is a anagram for arise,
Mm.
right? So now the motto for Aries is I am.
Mm-hmm.
Aries is a fire sign,
Mm-hmm.
right? When Moses went to Pharaoh
Mm-hmm.
and he said, the Lord said, which God? He said, the Lord said to let my people go. He said, which God? So he went back and he saw God what? In the burning bush,
From the bush. Mm-hmm.
fire sign.
Mm-hmm.
And then God
Mm.
said, I am that
Mm-hmm.
I am.
And that's right.
That's the motto for Aries.
Mm.
And that's why Moses was the one that received the law.
Mm. So you're segueing into one of my questions. And I have a two-part question for you. First, let me ask you this one. How how did you, were you raised into this mindset, or how did you get into the mindset of the matrix and what you're explaining to me now? How did you get into this mindset?
So, man, and so my mama gonna see this, and somebody gonna go tell my mom. It's gonna start some stuff
I
in the
mean, because you know
it's
what? One of the reasons why I have these conversations is because um, I'm somewhat in and out of the community, and there's a lot of people not in the community. And when I ask them questions of what's going on in the world, this, that, and the other thing, do they have an opinion or advice about it? Um, they will give me their opinion or their advice, but when I tell them to show up, there's other reasons why they can't show up in person and speak. So one of the purpose of me doing these conversations is I love having intellectual conversations. And like you said, I'm always a student. Every day I wake up to learn something new. So I'm learning as I'm giving other people important information for their everyday life.
correct.
And so,
Correct.
mhm,
Yeah, so when I finish this book, I'm actually gonna start back teaching. So what I do is I go into a state of hibernation and then I come back and I teach. So I don't have a problem going into the community and doing whatever.
okay,
But I'm not gonna be involved. This is why I didn't get involved with the whole Ahmaud Arbery thing. I'm glad we talking about this because
right.
I told
But
um
let's back up and tell me how
okay,
you got into this,
okay, all
and
right.
then we're going to
So
get to that.
all right, so yeah, so fortunate for me was this, because I was raised in a Christian household, right? And but for me, it was never real to me. Like I never bought into church. It just used to baffle me that the same people who I knew was Freemasons was talking about, yeah, God bless me to give this much this week. And it was the same script every time we went to church. The same lady, Miss Barbara Hollis, used to catch the Holy Ghost at the same time when the drummer started playing at a certain time, and it just didn't never make sense to me. Okay, so um, fortunate for me, my pops was an avid reader, and he would give me books when I was young. So by the time I had graduated high school, I had already read "The Die for the People" by Huey P. Newton. I had already read all of Malcolm X's Malcolm X Speaks, was a book of all of his speeches. I had already read the autobiography of Asada Shakur. Um,
Mm,
I had already read the autobiography of Malcolm X,
love that book. Hmm.
and then my pops. Oh, and I had already read um Black Power. And my pops also had me reading books that were like books that was written by people like Conrad Hilton and Og Mandino, like about that was more about like mindset and
Hmm.
how to be a individual thinker and how to think success principles.
And
So
Conrad Hilton is the owner of the hotels, right?
correct. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Kathy Hilton. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of like what molded me. And then what I would say is like one of my first guys was a man named Sergeant Wilton Anderson. He was my first supervisor once I got to my base at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. And me and him used to talk, and he used to be like, "Dang, young boy, you sharp." And he was like, "Hey, you mind if I give you this DVD?" Because we would talk about like different stuff. And once I got to the base, I always been a leader, and I was playing ball for the base basketball team, and all of the Masons was trying to recruit. Hey, brother, you need to come to the lodge. Come to the lodge. I'm like, nah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
good. And my pops was a master Mason, right?
Okay.
So he had already told me why he stepped away from it. So I would look through like his little Masonic Bible and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it was like whatever. Then I found out like the founding fathers was Masons and all that. I was done with it then. So and I always knew my granddad always told me that we was Indians growing up.
Okay.
So everything that they was teaching us in history class, I was like, man, I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? I learned it to get the grade, but I wasn't studying it like that. So that's
Right.
why I didn't excel academically in school, because I've always been smart. But to me, school was some BS, you know, because I know what you're trying to make me learn is a lie.
Right.
So
Where's my history?
you're right, right. So so Sergeant Anderson, that brother was like, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you this. He started giving me VCR tapes back in the day, so it wasn't DVDs yet. And one of the VCR tapes he gave me was this cat named Steve Coakley. And Steve Coakley is the person that, if you ever seen that video that's been surfacing around, he breaking down the MLK assassination, and him and Dick Gregory on stage talking about like how MLK was killed and everything else. But Steve Coakley, I later found out Dick Gregory was some boo-boo too. Dick Gregory was with them folk the whole time, and he was a plant, and he a sellout. And when the time come and I do this docu-series, everybody gonna know why I'm saying what I'm saying. But Steve Coakley was very big on exposing what people call the Illuminati and the Black Boule. Right? And that's why that number 223 in Ahmaud Arbery is so important, because that's the number the Boule uses. The Skull and Bones uses 322, and the Boule uses 223. So they did what they did to that boy on that day to set up that foundation in this town to stop me when I moved to this town. That's what that's all about. They tried to be some gatekeepers and they clowns. And I tell all of them to their face, and it's a fight that come with it or whatever afterwards, that's cool too. We could do that. But that's why I didn't get involved with it. When you talk about people won't get involved with the community, once I saw that they was bringing Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and all that, I knew what that was about. Jesse Jackson lined up MLK to get assassinated. Jesse Jackson was the person who changed MLK room in the Lorraine Hotel. He had a room facing the swimming pool, and Jesse Jackson changed his room to face the balcony because it was already set in stone that they was going to shoot him that day on that balcony.
Are you saying that
This is all in court transcripts. When the King family won that civil lawsuit and they won all the millions, that's why they stepped out of the public eye and they ain't been seen since.
But didn't Jesse Jackson separated from them after Martin got killed?
That's why, because his job was to help get rid of Martin.
So after that job was done, that's why he separated himself.
He didn't even go to the hospital.
Come on now.
Jesse Jackson didn't go to the hospital, and he was on the ground floor when Martin got shot. He was on the ground floor. He ran up there, put his hand on his body, and then put the blood on his shirt, because that's symbolism that's used in the Talmud. That's where the blood is on your hands come from. But Jesse Jackson and a man named O.Z. Evers was already on FBI payroll, and they was working with a white supremacist who was a Freemason and a Klansman and a labor organizer in Memphis named Russell Atkins. This all came out in the court transcripts by Russell Atkins' son. And he explained all this. He explained that his dad was given the money, which would equate to about $300,000 in today's economy, to give to the warden at a Missouri prison to let James Earl Ray out of prison. And when James Earl Ray was escaped prison, the warden helped him stay hidden long enough that the authorities couldn't catch up with him. And when James Earl Ray got out of prison, he was being tricked to think that he was a part of a mafia gun running ring. And James Earl Ray was selected by J. Edgar Hoover 2 years before MLK was shot. This is how far in advance they plan all this. So now, with Jesse Jackson, he was down with the plan from day one. When MLK was being taken to the hospital, which MLK was killed in the hospital. He didn't die from the gunshot wound. He was killed in the hospital. Jesse Jackson went to Chicago that day. He didn't even go to the hospital. You see what I'm saying? Now, and then with Al Sharpton, I posted a video a long time ago. Al Sharpton was a government informant that got caught on a wire selling drugs, selling kilos to a mafia dude. And the mafia dude that came out, his name is Michael Franchise. Michael Franchise came out and explained, yeah, Reverend Al Sharpton is a rat, and he did this and he did that. Like, this is known fact. So that's why I didn't get involved. And some of my homeboys and homegirls was like trying to turn a side eye at me, but I'm like, y'all don't know nothing. So it's just like when I was in the streets, if I tell one of my homeboys, hey, bro, don't mess with Buddy, he's snitching, and you keep messing, that's on you.
So can we Google or Wikipedia this
Yeah,
information
all of
you're
this. That's what I'm
mentioning?
saying. Everything I'm saying, public information. I'll send you the audio book called "A Plot to Kill King." I'll send it to you so you can hear it yourself, and you can hear all the people that was involved that helped get MLK killed. But to take it a step further, in my next book, I got the information in the book about Claudette Colvin, who was the real woman who was on the bus, but she was dark skinned.
Right, I know about that.
And they replaced her with Rosa Parks. But Rosa Parks and MLK had both went to the Highlander Folk School in Grundy County, Tennessee, in a place that they called the Mountaintop. So what did he say the night before he got shot? I've been to the Mountaintop. That was a place where they was doing communist training. I got the pictures of him and Rosa Parks together at the school that's coming out in this next book. So they were placed in front of the people. You see what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this, and this is, we're going to go back. Let me just ask you this. So if you're giving us some information about how Malcolm was killed, Martin, who really killed Malcolm X?
And the Nation of Islam killed him. Yeah, one of the shooters from the Nation of Islam was from Springfield, Massachusetts. My right-hand man is from Springfield, Massachusetts. Yeah, the Nation of Islam ain't nothing but a bunch of killers, because who was Elijah Muhammad reforming in the early 1900s? He was bringing people out of the prison system into the nation. That's why they so feared, is because of the fruit of Islam. But they ain't nothing but some killers. If you seen The Wire,
Oh, yes.
Brother Muzone with the bow tie who was hired by the drug dealers to kill. That's what they do for real. You ask anybody from a major city that done sold drugs in a major city, do the Nation of Islam be on the streets, and do they be hiring hitmen from the Nation of Islam? They gonna tell you, yeah. They got the perfect cover. The dude who really, and see, this go into Dick Gregory and his line behind. Dick Gregory got up on stage and made fun of Malcolm X's daughter. Malcolm X's daughter, who died, who was found face down in her apartment a few days after the men who was in prison for her father's murder was released. Hey, man, say, man, don't be mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. Go look up everything I'm telling you. So they released the men who had been in prison this whole time for his murder, and she was found dead face first in her apartment that same week. After a Netflix series came out, Who Killed Malcolm X? And when the brother who did the series, he was going around, they was like, why don't you just leave this alone? Why don't you just leave this alone? But this is the age where everything got to be revealed. We can't go into the age of Aquarius believing in the lies no more.
And right. So now we're getting to the end of our conversation. And
but let me say this about Malcolm real quick. I'm going to send you the video of Malcolm talking about the fact that Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam was dealing with the White Nationalist Party and the KKK and a man named H.L. Hunt. H.L. Hunt is who the TV show Dynasty was about. If you go to, I'm sorry, not Dynasty, Dallas. If you go to Dallas, Texas right now and look up, or just look up the Hunt Foundation and look up H.L. Hunt. At the time, H.L. Hunt was the wealthiest man in the world, public knowledge. Hunt's Ketchup.
Right.
He's a Texas oil billionaire. And H.L. Hunt is the same person who pulled the plug on JFK, RFK, and MLK. KKK.
Stop.
The Nightmare on Elm Street. This all in my book. This all in Red Pill Alchemy Volume 1. The Nightmare on Elm Street was about JFK. That's why Freddy Krueger, FK. JFK, FK, Freddy Krueger. Elm Street is the street that John F. Kennedy was shot on in Dealey Plaza in Texas.
Stop. I don't watch scary movies. Are you what? So what does
anybody who watching will refute it, fact check.
So how do they tell the story in Elm Street and Freddy Krueger?
It's a metaphor.
Okay.
Right. So see, that's the power and significance of understanding movies. Because
how did you figure out Elm Street was about Kennedy?
Because I know that John F. Kennedy was shot on Elm Street.
Wow.
Just like, okay, the movie The Fifth Element. Bruce Willis's character in The Fifth Element was named Corbin Dallas, was his name. Corbin means sacrifice in Hebrew. Korban. The sacrifice in Dallas was JFK.
Wow.
The woman who saved the world was symbolic of Jackie Kennedy, because Jackie Kennedy knew the plot that was taking place, but she had already fell in love with Aristotle Onassis, who was the biggest heroin dealer in the world at that time. So that's why she was jumping off the back of the car.
Wow.
Oh man, I mean, look, telling you.
Wow. So going towards the end of our conversation, you wanted to talk about the mindset of brothers and sisters in Brunswick, Georgia.
Yeah, for sure. Because like, and I want to say salute to some of them, like Barry Sanford, my boy Dre Mosley, Keon Loveson, Tubbs Thomas, like some of the guys that know that. I'll be remiss if I didn't mention my sister Yvonne, my sister Ebony, and it's a few more people, but what I'll say is that, come on, man, y'all, we grew up together. Like, how you gonna be mad at me because I won't go along with some agenda when I know better? If you don't know no better and you don't have the necessary information, like, what we gonna be, the blind following the blind? Because I'm not finna follow nobody. So if I see this something ain't right, I'm not finna get down with it. So that's the whole situation with Ahmaud Arbery. Like, one of my folk, I had to like get down. Like we had to have a real conversation. I'm like, well, whoever got a problem with me, let me know. They can meet me over here. Because I was telling them then that Benjamin Crump being involved, that he was a sucker and he was a sellout. I was telling them then that Lee Merritt was a sucker and he was a sellout. And all they do is to show up to get money out of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And look what happened. From what I understand, the foundation ain't even together no more. They'll open the foundation so people donate a bunch of money to it, right? And they bust up the money and people get rich off of situations. From what I understand, it was a big controversy because it was all this money going and the mama wasn't seeing none of the money. But I'm the one who wrong because I saw the future. And the difference between me and other cats is I'm willing to live and die by what I stand on. Because when they put me in that ground, Pamela, they gonna say that was a man right there they put in the ground. And I ain't gonna never go against my morals and my principles and what I know is righteous. So I don't care who it is. It could be whoever it is. It could be the Pope. It could be the president. It could be Kamala Harris. It could be Joseph Biden. It could be whoever. I don't care. I'm going to live righteous and I'm going to do what I know is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever get offended by, hey, man, you can't be mad at the truth. Just say you can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand if you can't handle it. But yeah, it's disgusting to me because it'll be different if we was from some big city. You see what I'm saying? Like, can't none of the people that grew up with me, Pamela, I swear on my kids, the people who grew up with me can't tell you one bad thing that I did to anybody growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And it be the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They gonna tell you, even when he got in fights, it was because somebody was trying to bully him. Somebody was messing with him, and he got with them. Because I don't bother nobody. I'm too focused on what I could do to manifest my greatness. And to
Right.
do what I know I'm destined to do. I ain't got time to be in nobody's business. People be still to this day like, hey, you heard about such that got shot? I'd be like, nah, why? Oh, that's such little nephew. Damn, that's messed up. Let me send him a text. You know, you heard about this happen? Nah. Who? Oh, that's such and such. Oh, that's his grandbaby. Oh, let me send him a text. Because I don't be in nobody's business. I don't look at the news. I don't care about what other people got going on. Because
Mm-hmm.
I got so much in my mind that I know I got to get out in a creative and constructive way to help elevate my people. So that's all I care about outside of my family. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have and I don't have no need or desire to lie to people or mislead people so that they could follow me or anything like that.
Right.
I
Right.
I want you to know the truth so you could tell your people the truth. And I want them to tell their people the truth. And if we do that, that's how, when you said how we beat the Matrix, that's how.
Yeah.
Because and this is what I tell people, all lies have expiration dates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once you know the truth, all
Mm-hmm.
the lies is over with.
And so that was on the mindsets of the men and women in Brunswick. What is your thoughts that you wanted to say about Ahmaud Arbery?
Well, that's kind of all wrapped up into one because that's where the whole like my frustration came from that situation because people said stuff because people know my history and activism going back to the Atlanta child murders.
Right. Right.
So people were saying that I ain't real, I done sold out because I'm big city
Oh.
now and all this other stuff because I didn't get involved with it. But if I'm from the gate saying, and I tried to call Mark, I tried to contact Ahmad dad because my brother Bootney is his brother-in-law. So
Mm-hmm.
he married to my homie sister. So I tried to contact him. I don't know the mom, and I ain't have no path to contact the mom, right? But
Mm-hmm.
by the time I knew what was going on and what happened, my sister had to tell me that it happened because I don't pay attention to nothing in the news or none of that. So when my sister told me what happened, I was like, damn, for real? So then when I started finding out more and more and more, I tried to contact the dad and tell him, like, look, man, Lee married Benjamin Chump. That ain't the move. They fugazi, they fake, they only try to get money out the situation. I started trying to talk to him and he didn't agree. And respectfully, I mean, what can I say? This man done lost his son. So what can I say after I had the conversation that I had? I didn't want to become a hindrance to what was going on with them, and I didn't want to bring no type of chaos to the situation. You see what I'm saying? So I just had to sit back and watch the show. And sometimes, like when you humble and you know that you know that you know that you know, then sometimes you have to let things play out. See, if I didn't let it play out and I tried to be all in the mix, something bad could have happened to me. So, and this what the powers that be, this what they want. See, if I go up and I show and I'm hurt the power to the people with them clowns that was down there, and Jesse Jackson and MLK and the clowns that had guns, right? Oh, a gun accidentally went off, hit DeWayne in the head. He dead. Nah, it ain't gonna be me. I ain't, boy, you paint your face and join the circus. If you a clown if you think I'm going that way. So I don't even get involved with anybody that's coming with that militant approach and they got guns and all that type of stuff, because you cannot go to war against the war machine. It's a physical war. The real war, Goody Mob said it back in the day on their first album. We fighting for our spirit and our mind. See, our people got a colonized mind. We were never violent people. I'm gonna defend myself now.
Right.
You come put your hands on me, boy, you gonna wish you didn't.
But we didn't come out blazing guns and being right to get anything we want.
Right, and this is the thing. Okay, what you gonna do with that AK after your three little clips that you got is done? Because they manufacture the weapons, homie. You got to go to them to buy the bullets, homie. You see what I'm saying? And I was in the United States Air Force, had a top secret SCI clearance, so I know how many guns this country give away to be sold on the black market. So we don't stand a chance trying to defeat a system that's constructed and designed the way it's been constructed and designed, because the reason the United States is the big dog is because they're the war machine. There are three world powers or three nation states. One is what's called the city in Great Britain. That's the financial capital of the world. The other is the Vatican. That's the religious capital of the world. And the other is Washington, D.C. That's the military capital of the world. And those are the three forms of control: physical dominance and control, financial control, and spiritual control. You see, so the only chance we have is from for a revolution. The revolution will not be televised. Look at Gil Scott Heron said the revolution starts in the minds of the individual. This is where the revolution starts. Come out of her iniquities. That's what we supposed to be understanding collectively.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know you touched a little on politics. What's your thoughts on the upcoming election and the debate?
None. It's comedy. It's comedy. Two clowns up there acting like they gonna. I mean, it's pure comedy to me. My baby girl is hilarious. She got Bush down pat and she got Kamala Harris down pat. I'm talking about she got the hands and how Kamala be laughing all. She got it down pat.
Does she?
Oh my God.
Does she?
And the
Mm-hmm.
Bush, she know how to do the little lips Bush. I mean Trump when he so the people, American people, she got it down pat.
Does she?
Uh,
Explain your, and this is our last question. My last question. Explain your t-shirt.
Kaminu. Okay. So this is actually an Olmec statue. These are found in Mexico. And the Olmec culture is the oldest indigenous culture known to the Americas. If you
Mm.
go look these Olmec heads up, they're about 20,000 pounds, sculptured like this, with those lips and those noses, looking like us, right? But the Kaminu is actually a ancient Egyptian word, and it's describing the four gestational periods that a baby goes through in a mother's womb, but it also describes the four evolutionary cycles that the planet went through.
Mm.
So it's a very powerful word, and the number connected to it is the number 8, which is infinity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even that number 8, and this is something I forgot when we was talking earlier about Ethiopia. The oldest Bible is an 88 book Ethiopian Bible,
Mm.
right? There's
Mm-hmm.
88 constellations in the heavens, and 88 is also H and H, and H is Hiram Abiff. In the teachings of Freemasonry, they say that Hiram Abiff is the man who constructed Solomon's temple. But
Mm.
Hiram Abiff is all allegory. Solomon's temple is the human body.
Mm.
This is the real temple. The temple of the Most High wasn't built with hands. And you got a temple on each
Right.
side.
He started. Mm-hmm. Mm. You get some deep thought.
You
You
ain't
get
drowned.
some.
Ain't that deep. Ain't that deep. You ain't drowned. I'm just a thought leader. I just make you think. That's all.
Hmm. And we're
That's all.
supposed to think. We're supposed to think. Right. Because they
Every
always say
state,
what you, I mean, because what you see is not what you really see. You know what I'm saying? They say have that faith, you know? Yeah.
but that's why the old folks used to say what? Believe none of what you hear
What you see, or what you see.
and half
That's
of
right.
what you see,
You
right?
see. Yes.
Because that we dealing with a whole bunch of illusions when we dealing with what we have to deal with in this matrix.
And is that t-shirt, that's your line of t-shirt? And where
Yep.
can you get them from?
Go to Camino Clothing on Facebook, and all the links to order is there.
Hmm. Well, Mr. Hendrix, like I said before, you have a very interesting knowledge. Um, I will I will watch The
Truth is the truth.
Matrix.
Truth is the
Hmm.
truth. Truth is the truth.
Oh yes. Oh yes. The truth is the truth.
And everything else outside of the truth is a lie.
Definitely. If it's not the truth, it has to be a lie.
There you go.
Yes.
You shall
So
know the truth, and that truth shall make you free.
yes, yes, yes. But I would like those children books because I buy books for my grands and my
I
great
got
grand.
you.
And I will watch The Matrix. So you keep up on me, and I will get time in
Yeah.
to watch it.
And I'm gonna make sure
So
you get the audio book too that I told you about.
so once I watch The Matrix, do I have to watch the Terminator? Are they in connections with each other?
You'll understand the Terminator better because the Terminator is the past going into the future.
Okay.
And that's why it's the man versus the machine. And
Okay.
that, see, the symbolism that she conveyed. John Connor is JC, Jesus Christ. John Connor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Julius Caesar. See Jesus, see Judas, see Caesar, see Brutus. Right. So this and JC is 10 plus 3, which is 13, which is M.
Mm. You give people something to think about.
All the time.
Give them something to think about.
And I ended on this. How many times people in their life done been in a situation that turned out to be a bad situation, whether they ended up in a relationship that was bad or they end up in prison or whatever the case may be. What do they always say? Damn, what was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
You wasn't
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We've been out of our mind. We need,
Mm.
they say brainwashing. We need a brainwashing because our brains is dirty right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
bad that we can't see what we need to see or think how we need to think.
So that goes back to saying when you were talking about Trump makes us wake up to see what we haven't been seeing or to
Yeah,
recognize
because
was
he exposing the redneck that only got 3 teeth in they mouth. Like, yeah,
yes,
like America
yeah,
great again.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Like they say when
he
people
exposing how these folk really feel.
right, and they say when people tell you who they are, believe it.
Believe.
Yes. And so he done got so comfortable that he done got so cocky after his presidency. He just says any old thing.
But
Cause
but
he
he
really do.
he was put in place. He was put in place to do exactly what he doing, and
Mm-hmm.
understand that Trump was named president the first time on 11/9/2016,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Genesis 11:9 is the story of the Tower of Babel. Babel is confusion,
Mm.
put in place to bring about confusion.
And he brought about confusion talking about them Haitian people eating those animals. That
I
that
mean,
place doesn't know what to do.
he been doing that the whole time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
see, the whole point is what's hilarious to me is that there's so many people that are still triggered by this man.
Mm-hmm.
You see what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But all you have to do is just do a little bit of research. You'll find out he got bought out in '93 by the Rothschild family. And
Mm-hmm.
the person, he was about to go bankrupt in 1993 when he was building the Taj Mahal. The person from the Rothschild family that approached him was the Rothschild bankruptcy asset manager, a man named Wilbur Ross. Wilbur Ross ended up being the, I think he was like the Secretary of Commerce when Trump became president. But Wilbur Ross is his handler, and that was his lawyer. I mean, not his lawyer, his neighbor in New York and in Florida.
Mm. Okay.
Right? Now, watch this. 11/9 is the opposite of 9/11.
11.
Watch this. 11 is K and 9, K9, the dog.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And on 9/11, in the book on 9/11, I showed Sirius the dog. Man, I mean, I break everything down and show people what they putting right in your face.
Mm. Okay.
You remember
So
9/11? It was a dog that they said saved some firefighters in the building and all that kind of
mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they named the dog Sirius. Sirius is the Sirius star, the brightest star in the sky, which is where the concept of the Eastern Star comes from.
Mm.
Part of where it comes from. But
Mm.
then we on our phones, we got Siri. And when it come up,
Yes. Yes.
and Siri is
Yes.
an anagram for iris, which is I.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Mr. Henderson. Not
Hendrix.
Mr. Henderson, Mr.
I told you.
Hendrix.
I told you it wasn't gonna be no hour and 15 minutes.
You did say that. But
Told
you
you,
know what?
we
But
gonna go
like
down this vortex, baby. When we go down this vortex, it's gonna be too much learning going on. So we can't do no hour and 15 minutes ever.
But you know what, Mr. Hendrix, that's all right because we had enough time for you to break down each part of our topics to get people to understand where you're coming from and what
Correct.
you want us to see, you
Correct.
know. So that's you can't rush through this, and I'm so blessed that I'm not constricted to a time allotment on this
Correct.
streaming.
Correct.
Yes.
All right.
Well, until the next time,
All right.
you have a
Whenever,
blessed.
whenever you want me to come back, and once you watch the Matrix, you want me to come back, we'll break it down even further.
I
I
might
don't
do
have,
that.
I don't have a problem doing it, and more than anything else, I really want my people from where I'm from to be on the same page to understand what's going on, and that's what these folks don't want to happen.
All right.
And they don't want that to happen because as long as they could put fake people in front of you,
Put a
they could
facade up.
control, they could control where we gonna go and how we can liberate ourselves.
Right.
I got solutions. I ain't just pop.
Hmm.
Mine ain't just real
Hmm.
talk, it's a real walk. That's the difference.
And until the next time, invitation to a conversation. Thank you for coming on and accepting my invitation. And until the next time, you have a blessed
You
weekend.
too. All right.
Bye bye.